Good morning, Pastor. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, church. I actually came to thank God on her behalf. Why I brought her is actually to shame the devil very well. You know, a few days back, myself and my husband went to pick my children from school. So on getting to the school, we saw the teacher holding her, and then they just casually told us that she fell. Not knowing the degree of the fall, so my husband just took her back to the car. And then as usual, picking them from school, they usually sleep off. So we assumed it was normal, one of those normal sleep. Not knowing it was something very serious. So we headed home. So on our way home, we were just having this chit-chat with my husband. They were behind the car, and then I was in front, having this normal couple discussions. So somehow we pulled over to say hi to somebody. It was at that point, my husband looked back and discovered she was having seizure. She had these, her eyes were rolling back, she was stiffened. A whole of her figure was deformed. Look, remembering it alone was traumatic. And then at that point, we carried her out of the car, ran to the closest pharmacy, and then they were like, no. Just take her to the nearest hospital. And at that point, all the hospital names disappeared. So it was somebody that now mentioned the hospital. So my husband drove off. You know, one of the testimonies, the speed at which he drove, at some point I was even scared, but he was in a very high speed. We landed to a hospital, and then we rushed in. Getting to the hospital, she passed out. You know, her breath was cutting, she passed out, and they fixed her on oxygen. There and then I knew it was only God that could come through for us. I prayed all the prayers I knew, cried all the cries, screamed and all that. It dawned on me I needed something high. It was at that point I called Pastor Jude. You know, I was screaming, and Pastor Jude now prayed and made some declarations and just asked me to go into pray in tongues and then give thanks. I can stand there to tell you it was a difficult task, because what I was seeing was contrary to, all of that. But I still held on to God. I said, God, you can decide not to do it. It still doesn't change you from being God, but I know you can. I held on to God. We were praying like I have never been this scared all my life. I know how I got her. I didn't get her because I, did the couple thing. God decided to give her to me. And I reminded God, I said, you can't give me this girl and then to cut her short before her 9th birthday. I was in that mood. I was praying. I was reminding God of a whole lot of things. And it was a test of faith, truly. It was a trying moment for me. I was screaming, I was shouting. I went in front of the hospital, I knelt and I raised my tune. I said, I can't lose this girl, not now, not never. After a long while, we stood, my family were everybody, some were crying, some were praying and all that. And a very traumatic thing happened. The doctor called me. This is their way of trying to calm me down, just to, gently give you an unpleasant information. So when I entered his office, hey, madam, sit down, sit. I said, don't worry, I'm good standing. Just tell me whatever it is. I sensed he wanted to tell me something I wasn't ready to hear. At that point, I took off. I left his office. I ran back to the emergency ward, and I knelt down. I groaned in prayers. And luckily, I had my younger sister too, who also understands this thing. She heard some part of what I heard, another part. We prayed all manner of prayers, and at some point I started breathing into. I said, I breathe into you, Zoe. I breathe into you the life of God. I don't know, but at some point the doctors were like, madam, it's okay. After a while, to the glory of God and to the shame of this devil, my daughter came back to life. When she came, we now discovered the gravity of the fall. She had bruises on her tummy. Her head was all bumped. And then she asked me a simple question. Where am I? What am I doing here? And I was like, hope you still remember. I asked her, who am I? She was moping, like she couldn't remember nothing. I said, God, you're a perfect finisher. We went into prayers again and all that. The doctor sent us out again, and after a while they brought us in. Then I started asking her, do you remember? She said, my mom. And at that point I said, Jesus, you're good.
I can't believe you are still sitting down for this kind of miracle. Is that how you appreciate God for this?
Another spectacular thing that happened in this testimony was, when the speed at which we rushed into the hospital, we left the car all open. We had my husband's 2 phones, my phone, the children's tablets were all in the car, and it was a busy road. We couldn't drive into the hospital, so we parked at the entrance of the hospital. The doors were all open, the windows were open, all those things were just scattered there. For all the hours we spent in the hospital, we came back, we found those things intact, So I don't know. I'm here to say, Father, thank you.
Can we celebrate Jesus? Celebrate Jesus for this awesome miracle. Hallelujah.